This is an interview I recently did for a Libertarian podcast called The Ross Kaminsky Show. I'm talking mostly about our ballot measures, but sneak in quite a bit of animal rights content as well. Overall, I'm really happy with how it went. Some vegans may not like this interview because I don't advocate for individual change at all. That is not pro-animal futures messaging, and I was there representing them. I think as animal advocates, it's important for us to know the audience that we're speaking to and to try to connect with them in different ways. I'm going to give a little debrief at the end of the video, but I hope that you enjoy it.
You may recall a few weeks ago, I guess it was, I had a guest on from Colorado State University talking about a study that she did regarding the potential economic impacts if a particular ballot measure in Denver were to pass that would ban animal processing facilities, aka slaughterhouses, in Denver. So we talked about that. And Natalie, who is social media lead at Pro Animal Future, which is the organization backing the ballot measure, say, hey, I'd like to join you too and give our side, and said, sure, come on in. And so here we are. So first of all, welcome, and just get close to the mic or pull it close to you. It's very adjustable, so you don't have to lean over too much. And so again, welcome to KOA. And why don't we start with what is the mission of Pro Animal Future, and then we'll get into the ballot measure.
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I know that in the episode with Jennifer Martin, you said you were 1 billion% against this ballot measure. So I'd like to get you down to maybe, 861 million or so.
All right.
So yeah, I'm really happy to be on here. And yeah, I want to start by talking about why we're running these ballot measures in the first place and what our mission is. So we live in the United States, which is supposedly the land of the free, but every year over 10 billion animals are confined and slaughtered. Their freedom is taken from them. They're separated from their friends and family. And when we're kids, we're taught that some animals matter morally: dogs, cats, guinea pigs. We love them. We welcome them into our families. And we're also taught that other animals, cows, pigs, chickens, sheep, are there for us to use how we please. We can eat them. We can wear them. We can eat them. We can wear them.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want with them.
Right.
Over the last few decades, the scientific literature on animal sentience has confirmed that the animals we treat as objects are just as emotionally complex as the animals that we love. Pigs and dogs are the same in their ability to feel pain and suffer, yet we treat them completely differently based on justifications of tradition, culture, and history. We know that many meat eaters are deeply uncomfortable with this industrialized slaughterhouse system and factory farming, but they feel powerless to do anything about it. So this measure seeks to spark a gradual evolution away from using animals as resources, starting at the local level here in Denver.
Okay, so we'll go back and forth, and when you say stuff I want to follow up on, we'll follow up on it. So there's two particular ballot measures. We're probably mostly going to talk about one. One is to ban fur, and then we're going to focus on the slaughterhouse one. But sticking with your mission for a second, so is this... Do you perceive this, if it succeeds, as an incremental step towards a bigger effort to try to get Denverites and Coloradans and everybody to eat less meat and wear less leather and use animals, kill fewer animals for whatever purpose?
We do not want to tell anyone what to do. We don't want to tell anyone what to eat, but this measure is a way to evolve society at the systemic level away from using animals, calling on restaurants, corporations, legislation, because we feel that the burden of choice shouldn't be on the consumer. So that's why we're not focusing on that. But the world we would want to see would have less animal slaughter and less reliance on using animals as resources. Absolutely.
Okay, that was super clever wording right there. You said we don't think the burden of choice should be on the consumer, which means you don't think consumers should have a choice.
Absolutely not. It's not that I don't think consumers should have a choice, but what I am saying is that in this realm, in our current food system, consumers already don't have a choice. And that's because animal agriculture is heavily subsidized.
So what choice are you saying there should be then? Because they have a choice between meat and Beyond Meat.
Yeah. Or
meat and Impossible Burger, meat and being vegetarian. So they have it. So are you suggesting there should be some other choice?
No, what I'm saying is that, yes, you're right, consumers have a choice, but that choice doesn't have the effect that they would ideally want it to have. For example, if you don't consume any animal products, your tax money is still going to fund animal agriculture, whether you like it or not. So if we didn't have any subsidies for animal products in the U.S., they would cost 2 to 4 times more than they currently do. So a Big Mac, instead of being $5, would be $13. And we know that price has an outsized impact on consumer choices. So the government is already very involved, is what I'm saying.
Right. And I don't know if that's true, what the effect of subsidies is on beef pricing. I know there are a lot of complicated intrusions by the federal government into agriculture, and actually I'm against all of them. I don't know if your particular numbers are correct there. But all right, I don't want to run out of time. Let's keep going. So what is this proposed, what does this ballot measure say? What did it do?
Sure. So it says that we will close slaughterhouses in Denver and also prioritize the affected employees to get them different jobs.
So what does that mean to prioritize? So right now there's, I think, 160 employees, and it's an employee-owned business. So you're not only putting them out of work, but also killing all the equity that they've earned in this successful business that, I will note, processes something like 20% of all the lamb in the United States.
Sure. So as far as the employee ownership, only a small percentage of those employees actually own part of the company. We're not sure exactly the numbers, but when we interviewed someone who used to work there, he said that almost no one lasts long enough to get those benefits. Slaughterhouses have between 80 to 100% turnover rate every year, which means that a lot of people who work there now wouldn't even be there by the time the plant closes. But these are not good jobs we're talking about. Slaughterhouse workers have higher rates of PTSD, depression, and substance abuse. So we have different organizations. There's not only Denver's Employment Assistance Program, but also Brave New Life Project, which has been helping slaughterhouse workers transition away for years. And I think I invite anyone listening to ask themselves if they would want to kill animals all day.
Well, I probably wouldn't, but isn't it a little bit elitist or condescending for you to say these are bad jobs and therefore you shouldn't be allowed to have it?
I don't see it as elitist. I see it as pro-worker, because a lot of people who work in these jobs don't necessarily want to be there. They feel as if they might not have other options, even though they do. They could do construction or different types of jobs. The research shows that they have high rates of depression, PTSD. I think that if we can avoid putting people into situations where they're going to experience trauma from their workplace, it's not elitist to say, hey, we shouldn't do that. You know, it's not elitist to say coal miners shouldn't have to breathe in these toxic fumes. It's taking their safety into account.
That's different, though. I think that's different. I understand the comparison you're trying to make. For me, if there's somebody who's working in a slaughterhouse and they don't dig it, but they could go work construction and like it better and make more money, they would go do that. I don't think it's ethical for you to target one industry, and really primarily this is targeting one business, because to the extent that there other ones are very, very tiny. This is basically a bill to target one business that you guys don't like, and that rubs me the wrong way.
No, that's not true. I appreciate that concern, and that's something we've heard a lot. It's not that we just woke up one day and decided to target this lamb slaughterhouse. We want to work up to statewide factory farming bans. And there aren't any factory farms in Denver. There is this industrialized slaughterhouse. If there were other slaughterhouses, we would be targeting them too. But since there's only one, it just so happens that this is the business that we're targeting.
Right, I get that. But it's still, the effect is the same. I just keep coming back. Okay, so I had the CSU person on, and I know you guys don't agree very much with that study, to put it gently. Do you want to talk about that study for a second?
Absolutely. So the study is extremely biased. The authors claim that it's not, but they have deep ties to the meat industry, both personally and professionally. CSU caught fire earlier this year for generating skewed research for the animal agriculture industry while accepting generous donations from them. Well, the study makes false assumptions about consumer choice, and they use made-up numbers and don't show how they got them.
Well, they have like pages and pages of citations. They have lots of citations in that, so I don't think that's true that they don't show how they got them. But also, you know, they've been in agricultural college forever. Of course they're going to have ties to the agricultural industry.
And they shouldn't have said that they weren't biased.
Well, it doesn't mean they're not. I'm not conceding that they're biased. Just knowing people doesn't mean that you're biased. You can have friends in a particular industry and write an honest report. I mean, I say stuff on the air all the time that would, you know, piss off people that I'm nominally allied with politically. I think I don't know. I think you criticized the study by saying it has all kinds of assumptions, and you put forward assumptions of your own to do that.
I was just getting started. I'm happy to go more into specific numbers. So yes, we can disagree about whether or not the authors are biased. I am less interested in that and more interested in what the study actually says.
Right.
So it says that 3,000 jobs are going to be lost. That is absolutely not true. An economist from CU Denver said that their reported $861 million number was so ridiculous that it's concerning that it was even listed, much less reported on, because it just wouldn't happen in actuality. Talking about the jobs, 3,000 jobs are not going to be lost because they assumed that eliminating the plant will get rid of all jobs indirectly related to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah,
and that's
like
not
drivers
what we've seen.
who drive their stuff around and things like that. Now,
That's
the thing
not
you're
what
talking
we've
about is
seen
their
in
worst
similar
case.
closures.
The thing... Well, but did similar closures result in the banning of an entire industry in a fairly large area? Or are you, what kind of, like, where have we seen a ban like this before?
Oh, yeah. I'm not talking about a ban. I'm talking about like when plants have closed for economic reasons, like the one in Greeley.
Right. Okay. So I again, the particular numbers that you are referencing were the worst case in that study.
Yeah.
Although I will stipulate to you that when that guest was on my show, she said that they thought the worst case may be the most likely case, rather than the middle case being the most likely case, as you normally see with studies like this. But even the best case is pretty bad. Are you saying that you think the real case is better than their best case?
Absolutely. I'm saying that the study fails to account any of the positives that we could see from this closure. So we shouldn't just be looking at this in terms of closing the slaughterhouse. We should be looking at it in terms of opportunity cost. What could we do instead? Slaughterhouses are known to pollute the neighborhoods.
There's no evidence that this is polluting anything.
They have been violating the EPA's Clean Water Act for at least 3 years.
I don't think that's true.
We have sources for all of this. I've said it to you on the blog.
Yeah, I don't think it's true. I don't think they've ever been found in violation of their current permits, and they're inspected all the time. So we'll have to see. One of us is right and one of us is wrong.
Totally, and I invite the listeners to check out the blog post to see those sources, because I appreciate that. I want people to have accurate information, definitely. The other thing is that we can think about what businesses would be there instead. Slaughterhouses across the world have been turned into museums, breweries, and other successful businesses. So we wouldn't just be completely losing revenue. There is a positive. And when we look at the positives of treating animals better and moving society away from this cruel industry, it's clear that it's the right choice.
We're talking with Natalie Fulton. She's the social media lead at Pro Animal Future, and they're the main force behind the proposed ordinance in Denver that would ban slaughterhouses in the city and county of Denver. If you live in Denver, you're going to get to vote on this. Their website is proanimal.org. So, okay, this is going to sound sarcastic, but it's not.
Okay.
I love lamb, right? Lamb is probably my favorite meat of the common meats. And if you get your way, probably the price of lamb goes up by, I don't know, 20% or something, like nationwide, not just here. And it could be more. I mean, commodities are priced on the margin. I used to trade commodities, right? You get rid of 20% of something, even if half of that ends up getting replaced, you're talking about a significant price increase. So for people who like eating lamb, for restaurants that serve lamb, all this stuff, you are making this thing that a lot of people enjoy unaffordable. But I'm guessing that's actually what you want.
So, no, that's not necessarily it. What I will say is that you are unique in your love for lamb. Most Americans eat less than 1.5 pounds of lamb per year. You're talking about it being expensive. It's already a premium meat, way more expensive than other meats. So it's not something that most people are buying regularly. And as far as, you kind of framed it as this is my way and not your way. But I think what we really need to be thinking about is the animals. They're the ones who are most affected by this. They are the ones who have to be killed when they're 6 months old. They have to go through a slaughterhouse where we have video evidence of them suffering well before they died. And at the end of the day, we need to take what they want into account, not just what we want.
So I think that's your best argument. And I've mentioned this to you before we went on the air, that my brother, before he passed away, my brother became vegan, and he wasn't as crazy about it as a lot of vegans. Like usually if there's a vegan in the room, everybody knows because he won't shut up about it. But he wasn't really like that. But I talked to him about it, and I learned some things, his concerns about the potential suffering of animals in industry. in large-scale agriculture. Do you think that there is a way in any given part of animal agriculture that the animals could be harvested, killed, that doesn't cause them to suffer greatly? And if such a thing did exist and you believed that animal didn't suffer, would you be okay then with eating it?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And as far as vegans being extreme, I may be more on the extreme side, so I wouldn't say that my views necessarily represent the organization that I'm with. The thing that's great about our ballot measures is that whether you're vegan, vegetarian, or eat meat, this will help create the kind of world with less animal cruelty. And that's where we're focusing right now, on the areas where we agree with people. As far as if animals did not suffer at all, we have to take lifespan into account. Sheep can live for 10 to 15 years, and in the industry, they're killed at 6 months old. Even if there was a painless way to do that, I think it would be wrong, because they should have the right, their most basic fundamental right to their life. And that's so important. And if we were talking about dogs or cats, you know, we wouldn't be framing it in this way. There's a festival in China called the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, and people are always protesting it. They're not asking for bigger cages or better ways to kill the dogs. They're asking for it to stop completely. And that's what I think we should be doing. As far as if there's like a humane way to kill an animal, humane means compassionate. Can you compassionately kill an animal who doesn't want to or need to die?
Yeah, again, I think those animal-related arguments are your best arguments. I think the economic arguments aren't very good, and I think that what you're doing is necessarily removing choice and killing jobs, and you're willing to do that because you think this other goal is more important.
It's not that, like, these farmers we're talking about that probably won't lose their jobs in this measure, but may in future ones. We don't want them to stop farming. We want them to start farming foods directly for human consumption, like different types of plant-based foods, which we're already seeing. Farmers can look up Rancher Advocacy Program or Transformation, and those organizations will help them transition. Right.
So folks farmers, maybe ranchers who are raising sheep now, if there's no processing facility close enough, they might have to switch to something else. But doesn't that really feel like an incredible heavy hand of government? Like, I think it shouldn't be legal for this ballot measure to even be on the ballot. I think what you're trying to do, even though I fully understand your goal with protecting animals, from my perspective, I think using government to do this way, I think, is an immoral use of government, even though I appreciate your deeper goal.
I'm really glad that you brought this up.
And we have 1 minute.
Okay, I agree that government control is bad. That's why we're going through citizen initiatives. We are citizens. We came up with this law. We petitioned to get it on the ballot. Yeah. And now citizens are going to vote for it. It is by no means government control. It's people choosing the kind of future that they want to create. Right,
and I think they shouldn't be allowed to vote on it. Just the same way I think they shouldn't have been allowed to vote on reintroducing wolves to other parts of the state where it'll never affect them. Yes, it's voting on it, but it's still voting to use the power of government to shut down one business. And I don't like it. I will say, though, Denver is a very blue city, and it wouldn't surprise me if you win. I think there's going to be a lot of money spent against you, but I think all else being equal, if people just go read the ballot measure and they don't hear any advertising one way or another, I think it's got a decent chance of passing. I'll give you the last 17 seconds.
I absolutely hope you're right. And we just want to make this clear that if you care about animals and you think that they should have a choice in the matter, I appreciate your dedication to freedom and the non-aggression principle. I'm saying it should apply to animals as well.
Natalie Fulton is social media lead at Pro Animal Future, the group behind the ballot measure we've been discussing. The website is proanimal.org. Thanks for an awesome and spirited conversation.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. We'll probably have you back one more time before the vote.
Thank you for listening. This is the first time I've ever been on a legitimate radio show, and it was weird because during the interview I felt like it wasn't contentious at all, but then when I listened to it afterward, I can tell that he was definitely challenging me quite a lot, and I'm proud of myself for not giving into his framing. But, of course, I'm very curious to hear what you think, so let me know in the comments, and if you do want to support our campaign to ban slaughterhouses in Denver, donate to Pro Animal Future today.